What's up, guys? Coach Gaglione here, and we got Black Tom Cruise with us today. Otis is here. This is our Strong and Lean in 2018 series. We're going to give you tips on how to lose weight, gain strength, get jacked. Definitely. I can't help you with getting tan, but we'll try. So stay tuned we're going to do some videos with you guys. You're going to love the content. If you like it, please subscribe. And thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the video. Hey guys, Coach Gaglione here. We got Black Tom Cruise with us. We're going to talk about the best workouts for building muscle, burning fat. That's like the burning question, right?
Yep.
How can we burn fat? How can we build muscle? Everyone, we want it all, right? We want to be able to step on stage. We want to be jacked like a bodybuilder. We want to be strong like a power lifter. You know. So I think the truth is we were talking about before we started filming. It's probably best to do things in stages. But that being said, there are some ways where you can do your best to maintain strength, maintain some muscle while you're dropping body fat. And depending on if you're a beginner or not, if you're like super sedentary, you can build some muscle and burn fat at the same time, especially if you have not been training for a while. If you're someone that's been training for a while and you are a bigger guy, it probably will be a little harder. But so you've recently lost a bunch of weight, been getting leaner, body fat's been going down. So what are some tips you got for people that want to keep that muscle and burn fat at the same time?
I would say basically do higher reps, and I would take less rest between sets, basically.
So we want to increase that training density, so we're going to limit the amount of rest in between sets. So normally, maybe you're kind of resting as much as possible. Maybe you have a stopwatch. Maybe if you're training in a group of 2 or 3 people, as soon as that bar is loaded, you're going right away. Some other strategies as far as with workload, you can do things like supersets, things like trisets, you can do things like a drop set. So a superset might be, I know you talked about you like your high rep pull downs.
Yes.
So we might do a pull, and we might do a push. It doesn't have to be, it could be, the direction's not so important, but something like an opposing muscle group is great. So do you ever do like a superset, like you ever do like a push up and a pull up, or a pull down and a push down, something like that?
Definitely.
So how does that feel for you? How does that feel on your heart rate?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel the heart rate going up. That helps with the pump too.
So it's great, you get a nice pump, yeah, of course. So when you're doing something like a push and a pull, when you're doing opposing patterns or opposing muscle groups, you can do something like upper body and a lower body movement, for example. You can also do a core movement. Think about movements that are not going to use the same muscles. So your heart rate is still going to be elevated, but your muscles, so while your chest is getting a rest, maybe your back is working, and vice versa. Doing like a bicep and a tricep movement is really common, so I can do a curl and a push down. Lower body is a little more challenging, but you can do like some sort of leg exercise, like a squat and a plank or something like that is a good example of that, or a leg press. So that would be a superset. If you want to get really crazy, you can do something like a tricep, where you can do 3 different movements. You might do, so in the case of an upper body, you might do something for your bicep, something for your tricep, something for your shoulders. So they're like different enough. You might be using your shoulder a little bit in all 3, but they're different enough where the opposing body part is getting some rest. So that'd be an example of a 3 movement circuit. If you want to do something like a strip set, we talked about again. So I like to do like you could do like run in the rack. You ever run the rack, getting the pump from before the club. You know what I'm saying? So you start with a real heavy dumbbell on a curl, and you work your way down the rack. You can do a certain amount of reps. You can increase the amount of reps, decrease the amount of reps. So you can run the rack down. I like to run the rack down. You can certainly run the rack up as well. So I like to start off with a heavy weight on a curl. I might start off with a hammer curl, something you can do more weight with, or even like a hammer cheat curl. Then do a more hammer strict curl. Then you can do maybe a cheat regular curl, and then a very strict curl as you get lower in weight. So that's the example of like running the rack, or like a drop set. Something I like to do a drop set with the belt squat. I know not everyone has a belt squat, so you can do a drop set with like a leg press.
Leg press, yeah.
Pull down. If you have a pin stack, start with a heavy weight. Do a bunch of reps. You can rest, pause. So these are all different techniques to increase volume, increase workload, and increase work capacity. It's going to jack that heart rate up. It's going to help stimulate muscle, so you can potentially burn some fat and build and or maintain muscle, depending on how you're eating and depending on what your goals are. So those are some great things as far as workload, work capacity, and things like that. I know we talked about making sure you still do some strength training, so doing some of those compound movements. So what are you doing as far as your squats, with your deads, with your benches? What are some of the things that you're doing right now with that?
Basically, right now, like with the deadlifts, we would do about, I would say maybe like 3 to 5 reps right now. We're doing right now. And then
So
after
still
that,
fairly low
yeah,
reps.
Still fairly low reps. But after that, we would do like back extensions, and after that, do like high reps of back extensions.
So before you do your bodybuilding type accessory, it's still important to hit your compound lifts. That's going to really help maintain that muscle mass as you're losing weight. You may need to lower your training max or lower your percentage a little bit. Maybe take a little weight off, but your intent is still to move heavy weight. Your intent is still to move it fast, and that's going to help. I found that if I took those movements out, I know that I would lose a lot of muscle too quickly. So still having some strength movements. We talked about increased training density. We talked about some different strategies with that. So moving through the workouts quicker. And just in general, we talked about a lot of people are not doing those bodybuilding type accessories. So just making sure you're getting some isolation work. You're actually doing some sort of accessory work. And we talked about, so that's the good strength training portion. And another important piece of kind of burning fat is just simply moving more. So you can do some type of cardiovascular exercise. And we'll go into a little bit more detail on what type of cardio routines, especially for the bigger guys, just something like going for walks and things like that.
That's
more,
big.
Even just doing a little more mobility. So you can do some sort of cardio, some sort of yoga routine, some sort of mobility routine. Just moving more is going to help you burn more fat. And as far as building muscle, you do things that are going to have more time under tension. So doing more things like a longer pause on your bench, a pause squat, a pause deadlift. That's going to increase the time under tension. Also, slow eccentric. You ever lower, like on a fly, really slow or whatever, that's going to really stretch your pec.
Definitely.
So lowering your weights really slowly, that's called eccentric emphasis. So you can do isometric emphasis, that's a longer pause. You're going to create a lot of tension there. Eccentric emphasis, slowly lowering, that's going to increase the time under tension. So the more time under tension, the more time the weight's in your hands, it's going to help build more muscle, burn more calories, and ultimately give you a better physique. So I think that's basically kind of a good rundown. Okay, we talked about increasing the workload by eliminating rest. We talked about increasing the time under tension with some isometric and eccentric techniques. We talked about making sure you still use compound movements. And we talked about just moving more in general, so that can be cardio, some mobility routines, yoga, and things like that, just moving a little bit more.
Mobility, that helped me a lot. That's like a big sweat for me too, even do mobility work.
Especially when you're a big guy, man, just doing some basic stretches is going to get you sweating. So I think that's basically it so those are some really great tips for building muscle and burning fat at the same time. We do recommend you do things in stages, so maybe your priority is burning fat, maintain muscle, and other times maybe your priority is maintain my body fat, increase muscle, etc. Other times your priority is strength and performance. So have a focus, but if you want to kind of do both a little bit, those are some great tips for you guys. We got some great stuff coming out for you guys, so make sure you check out the links below. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.